Another person is arrested in connection with a double homicide on Christmas Eve. What police say helped them track the suspect down.
Back in court, the new charges 4 of the 5 suspects in the David Grunwald homicide are now facing and how they plead.
And a letter to the state on fracking rules. How many people signed it and the changes they want.
And now, first in Alaska, this is the KTVA 11 Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Joe Vigil.
And I'm Bonnie Bowman in for Emily Carlson.
Well, police caught up with a third suspect today in connection with a double murder on Christmas Eve. Now, police say they found the man thanks to anonymous tips from the public.
KTVA 11's Liz Raines joins us live from where the arrest took place, the Lakeshore Inn in Spenard. Liz?
Well, Bonnie and Joe, police say they found LaMarcus Mann, a 22-year-old, here in this hotel and arrested him just after 8 o'clock this morning. But even with a third suspect in custody, APD says their investigation is far from over. 19-year-old DeAnthony Harris, 20-year-old Jalen Franklin, and 22-year-old LaMarcus Mann are accused of killing Christopher and Danielle Brooks. Police believe the trio hoped to steal money and drugs from the couple, but LaMarcus Mann ended up killing them. The Brooks' 5-year-old son was in the home at the time.
He was articulate. I do believe he was probably in shock from this event, but he was able to speak with one of our female officers immediately upon arrival and provided a statement.
A Facebook account registered in Mann's name shows he may have a small child of his own. It says he was an East High graduate, class of 2013. 1 year later, in 2014, court records reveal a violent crime. Mann was sentenced to 120 days in jail for attempting to strangle his then girlfriend. Police aren't sure how Mann might have known the couple killed on Christmas Eve.
We do know that the victims did not provoke this encounter, and they did not deserve to have this occur to them.
Anchorage has now reached a record high with 34 homicides this year. Police are still gathering information about a possible fourth suspect in this case. APD has not released the name of that person or information regarding what role they might have played. Bonnie and Joe?
All right, Liz, thanks. 4 of the 5 teenagers arrested in connection to David Grunwald's murder were back in court today, now facing additional charges. For Eric Elmendinger, Dominic Johnson, and Bradley Renfro, those charges include arson, vehicle theft, and assault. Austin Barrett was also charged with theft and assault. These new charges are in addition to murder and kidnapping counts. Today, each of their attorneys entered not guilty pleas on the new charges. David's parents, Ben and Edie Grunwald, were surrounded by supporters in the crowded courtroom. Even though it's difficult, they say they need to be there to represent their son.
And the other reason we're doing this, you got to remember where David is now. We're his voice. He's 6 feet under the ground at Fort Rich.
A 5th teenager, Devin Peterson, was charged with 1 count of hindering the prosecution and 3 counts of tampering with physical evidence earlier this month. He didn't face any additional charges today. The trial for Grunwald's accused killers is expected to begin the 2nd week of February.
A biting arrest made by an Anchorage police dog is making the rounds on social media today. This video shows an APD canine chasing and then catching a man. Police say he stole a car that was found at the Walmart in East Anchorage last night. Officers surrounded the car and boxed it in as the driver was approaching the stoplight at DeBar and Boniface. That's when police say the suspect took off and tried to get away. APD released the canine. The dog quickly bit the man on his waist and took him down. Police say the canine unit is invaluable in situations like these to keep officers safe.
It's a lot safer to send a dog in than it is for officers to have to run in and tackle, because even if you're just tackling a suspect, there's always potential for injury. You fall down, you hurt something, you break something, but with a canine, we can avoid all that.
The suspected car thief was taken into custody, but the district attorney's office declined to file charges today. A South Anchorage restaurant suffered extensive damage in a fire today. AFD responded to Haru's Sushi restaurant shortly after 4 this morning. The roof ended up collapsing. Captain says the crew was able to get on scene quickly.
We don't get these very often where they're that involved upon our arrival. Usually with early notification, we're here pretty quickly, but in this case, someone called it in. Luckily, one of our engines was out on a call and they got diverted here, so they were here pretty quickly.
No one was in the restaurant and no firefighters were hurt. The cause is still under investigation. The captain says they believe that, the
fire may have started in the kitchen, I think is what they were.
That's what they said. Okay,
Yep.
Very good. All right, checking the weather right now. A little bit of snow we saw coming down out there.
Some fresh flurries. Be nice to get a fresh blanket out there. Carlos joining us. We're not going to get a huge blanketing, but maybe just a little bit of fresh stuff, right?
Yeah, it's coming down in many parts of Anchorage right now. It's going to be over in a few hours, but then it could be happening again later on. And tomorrow we could be picking up about an inch or two of snow up in the valley and down here in the bowl. As we take a look here at the satellite or the clouds from our sky cam, and you can see we're still hovering at that 26-degree mark. And as we take a look all across South Central, that snow has moved up into the valley. Wasilla and Palmer just started reporting some snow. Your temperature's in the low 20s, and it looks like it could be happening to all of us, but especially on the west side of the mountains as this wave is moving in from the northwest, and that's the one that could bring us enough that it could be more than a dusting out there. In fact, the cars out in the parking lot here at the station over in northeast Anchorage already have a dusting of snow on them. So that's the way it's going to be for the next few days. Nothing really major, but we could pick up an inch or two at times. I'm going to come back in a few minutes. We'll talk about the really nasty weather over in other parts of the state coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Carlos, thanks. Being part of the decision-making process when it comes to fracking in our state.
That's what more than 400 Alaskans are asking for in a letter to the state's Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. As KTVA 11's Sierra Starks tells us, they want to weigh in on all future fracking applications before the permits are issued. Sierra.
Yeah, that's right, Joe and Bonnie. That letter is a result of a tense meeting in Anchorage earlier this month. It was called by the nonprofit Cook Inlet Keeper, whose executive director told the state's Oil and Gas Conservation Commission that Alaskans have a right to know about potential fracking operations from the very start. Cook Inlet Keepers Bob Shavelson and hundreds of Alaskans are asking for more of a voice when it comes to fracking operations in the state.
I think people are concerned about their drinking water and they're concerned about their salmon streams.
Hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, is the extraction of oil and gas from rock beneath the Earth's surface. But because of environmental concerns, it's come under heated debate, especially in the lower 48. Here in Alaska, the state strengthened the rules on fracking back in 2014, including an amendment to notify Alaskans if and when fracking would be happening within a half-mile of their property. Now, Shavelson and others want to take it a step further. They want the public to be part of the permit process before fracking even begins, a move Alaska's Oil and Gas Conservation Commission says has never been done before.
It just seems like a step forward in good government to have openness and have transparency and to give Alaskans an opportunity to see fracking applications before they're approved and have the opportunity to comment on them.
Shavelson sent a letter with that request to the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission Tuesday. It also carries the supporting names of 448 Alaskans, stretching from southeast to the Kenai Peninsula and beyond. Shavelson says he hopes the state takes note.
The fact that 450 Alaskans have taken the time to go forward and put their name on a petition to me is meaningful.
Now, the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission has 30 days to review the proposed amendment from the Inlet Keeper and make a decision to accept it, reject it, or amend it further. Joe and Bonnie.
All right, Sierra, thanks. Well, we've lost a number of prominent Alaskans this year.
From native leaders to artists, we look back at those we've lost and the legacies they leave behind.
We have an update to the breaking news we're following this evening. 4 people are now facing charges relating to the murder of David Grunwald. They are 16-year-old Eric Almendinger, 16-year-old Dominic Johnson, 19-year-old Austin Barrett, and 18-year-old Devin Peterson. This is according to online court records. We're still looking into other possible arrests, and we'll have the latest for you tonight at 10 o'clock and on KTVA.com. Also, the latest from the vigil going on right now for David Grunwald. Hear from family and friends and why that gathering was so important to them.
A new era at APD with Chief Tolley retiring, how his replacement hopes to improve the department.
Office space available, what brokers say the vacancies mean for our economy.
And a real debate over Real ID in Juneau that could have Alaskans looking for their passports.
And now, first in Alaska, this is the KTVA 11 Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Joe Behill.
And I'm Alexis Fernandez in for Emily Carlson.
The woman who police say hit a cyclist while driving under the influence was in court today. Police say 26-year-old Cinda Collins was in court. There she is right there. They say that she was driving in the westbound lane of Abbott Road near the Seward Highway when the crash happened. The bicyclist was wearing a helmet but was transported to the hospital with critical head injuries. Collins is charged with assault and driving under the influence. Well, she's been educating kids for almost 20 years, and it shows.
The gifts former students have brought back to the South Anchorage teacher.
And a former UAF Nanook made a big impact at the World Hockey Championship tournament today. We'll take you to the ice coming up in sports.
And it looks like we're going to be seeing the sunshine for a little while longer. Then the clouds move in, and it looks like the chance for rain comes with it. Details coming up on the other side of this break.
Fairbanks police are asking for the public's help finding the person they think shot and killed a man last Thursday. Police say Joseph Vance Araby killed Carlos Zuniga last Thursday night. Araby is 6 feet 1 inch tall, about 185 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Police say he is likely armed and dangerous and ask that you stay away from him and call them immediately.
Pitching in to keep the streets clean.
The Anchorage citywide cleanup is underway. The turnout this year and how you can help.
We saw beautiful conditions today. Tomorrow we're looking at 16 hours and 43 minutes of daylight. We will see increasing clouds, eventually seeing some additional chances for rain here in the Anchorage Bowl. All the details, your forecast after the break.
A small park in the northwest corner of downtown Anchorage will soon have a new look. Hostetler Park is home to the Alaska Victims Memorial. It's a way of remembering those lost because of violent crime or a drunk driving crash. The groundbreaking today follows a year of planning that was spearheaded by the Rotary Club. They say the current memorial is damaged and is not easily accessible during winter. Those behind the project say the new design will make it easier for families to come and reflect.
The trees have overgrown and it looks like a forgotten spot, and many people don't know it's here. So for me personally, it's a way to literally shed light back on a dark subject and hopefully bring awareness and bring peace and bring light to victims and their families.
And funding came in part from a $10,000 grant from the Anchorage Parks Foundation. Renovations are expected to be finished in September.
This half-hour on Daybreak, teenager charged with manslaughter, what he allegedly did last May that led to his arrest yesterday.
Raising awareness of heart disease, the color you're encouraged to wear today to help the cause.
Plus, a coffee competition among Alaska's brewmasters, where you can watch our local baristas battle it out this weekend.
Girdwood, Alaska, singer-songwriter Ava Earl takes our stage for a mic check in the morning. Daybreak returns right now.
And now from KTVA 11 News, this is Daybreak.
Good morning, I'm James Gaddis.
I'm Megan Mazurek. Welcome back to the second half of Daybreak on this Friday morning, 6:31 now. A packed show for you. We're going live.
616, 28 degrees. Budweiser's Super Bowl commercial making some waves already. Walmart takes on Amazon, and Apple sees growth after a slump in sales last year.
Here's a look at your consumer news on this Wednesday, February 1st.
This half hour on Daybreak, kept out of Alaska. The number of refugee families whose plans to come here are now on hold following the president's immigration ban.
So if you're not a citizen, you should be vetted before you come in.
Gauging public opinion, where do you stand on the presidential order? We ask Alaska.
Plus, running out of ways to cook that freezer full of Alaska fish. This week's recipe box, the easy bake salmon with a classic yet surprising crust.
And a first for the Alaska Railroad, the family-friendly trip you can now take this Valentine's Day. Daybreak returns right now.
And now from KTVA 11 News, this is Daybreak.
Good morning, I'm James Gaddis.
I'm Megan Mazurek. Welcome back to the second half of Daybreak on this Tuesday, January 31st. It's a Travel Tuesday, and it's a brand new event coming to the Alaska Railroad. So we'll tell you about a special trip you can take, family-friendly, and then we have a recipe box for salmon. This time of year, I'm like, oh, I'm so sick of salmon. What else can I use with it?
Right.
You know, it's